Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Racha, Quadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to all you Wakim out there who pushing his word with all truth and sincerity, and as well as to all you believers out there who believe in the gospel. And it's the brother Quara Abad from the GMS Houston camp. And I want to go into another lesson, just doing a little reading. And it just hit my spirit on how close, how close we are to the end, right? Which we know that the end, right? The last days started when Yahweh Shai got on that cross, right? That began the last days. So if that was a little over 2,000 some years ago when the last days begin, then how close are we today, man? We in the last of the last days, the last seconds of the last days. Even concerning Daniel, the vision that he interpreted for Nebuchadnezzar. You see, Nebuchadnezzar had a vision starting with him in Babylon of all the kingdoms that was going to be in the earth from Babylon on down. You had the Persian, the Medes, then the Greeks, then the Romans. So again, Yahweh Shai was living in the time of Rome. So if that was just, 2,000 some years ago, then where are we? Right? If John the Baptist, Paul, Peter, James, John, the rest of the 12, Yahweh Shai, if they was living in the time of Rome, which on that statue in Daniel, the 2nd chapter, Lord willing, we get, if that was the legs of the statue, then 2,000 years later, then where are we? We got to be in the feet and the toes, man. And shit, the tip of the toes, the last part of the feet and the toes, that's where we at, which is America, who came back in the likeness of Rome, as well as the NATO and the EU. We in that time. And what it said in what Nebuchadnezzar seen to end off the statue, that the stone came and hit the statue in the feet and the toes, and that stone is Yahweh Shai, which further shows he's coming back during the feet and the toes, the Lord coming back in our time. That's how close we are, man. You see, matter of fact, let me get this, because Esdras had asked the angel Uriel, right, from his time. Now Esdras was living around 456, 440 something BC, right, about 450 or so years before Yahweh Shai. Esdras around the time of the Medo-Persian Empire, right? Then after that, you still had the Greeks, the Romans, and then us today. But the point is, Esdras asked the angel, he was like, look, and I get this, I don't want to ramble too long, but he asked the angel, he said, look, is it from my time, since the beginning, has it been more of the time that passed already? Or do we still have a lot left in prophecy to wait on? Right? In other words, are we close to the end, or do we still have a lot more to go through and experience? And this is what the angel go tell him. Uriel gave him a similitude. So I'm going to read it, this 2nd Esdras chapter 4, and Lord willing this lesson be edifying. But this 2nd Esdras chapter 4, and I'm going to start at 45. 2nd Esdras 4 and 45, it says, show me then whether there be more to come than that which is past, or more past than that which is to come. So, like, where are we in prophecy? You know how you go to a mall or something, or an amusement park, right? Whatever place with a big venue, it'll have a map to show you where you are. It might have a big red dot or a big red star or a check mark, and it say you are here. So you know where you at. Well, that's what we talking about. On that statue with Nebuchadnezzar, what he seen, where would we be on that statue? We would be in the feet and the toes, in that generation that Yahweh Shai will come back in, man. In that era or age that Yahweh Shai will come back in. So Ezra asked him again. He said, "Show me then whether there be more to come than that which is past, or more past than that is to come. What is past I know, but what is for to come I know not." So Ezra's like, "Look, I know what's going on in my time. I know about the history, but what else is there to come in the future?" And it says, "And he said unto me, Stand up upon thy right side, and I shall expound unto thee the similitude." It says, "So I stood and saw, and behold." So this is what Ezra seen. Now the angel giving him similitudes to give him his answer. It says, "So I stood and saw, and behold, a hot burning oven passed by before me. And it happened that when the flame was gone by, I looked and beheld, the smoke remained still." So what Ezra seen, he said he seen this big hot oven full of fire, and it passed by. But then once that passed, it only had a little, a few vapors of smoke left. It says, "And after this, there passed by me a watery cloud, and sent down much rain with a storm. And when the stormy rain was past, the drops remained still." All right, so the same thing. Ezra, first he seen a big stove pass by with fire, but then a little smoke after it passed. Now he's seeing a big stormy cloud with thunder in it, dropping much rain, and once that passed, it only had a few drops. Let's read it. It says, "Then said he unto me, Consider with thyself, as the rain is more than the drops, and as the fire is greater than the smoke. But the drops and the smoke remain behind, so the quantity which is past did more exceed." So in other words, Ezra, from your time on down, you only have a little bit of time left in this world. Only a little bit of time left in this world. Because again, it had that similitude of that fiery oven with the smoke. It passed by. That's a big portion that happened from Adam all the way to Ezra's. That's a big portion that took place. But from Ezra's on to now, it's only a little bit left. And I mind you, Ezra's was about 400-something, 500 years before Yahushua. So how much are we closer? If it was just vapors of smoke left when he seen it. A few raindrops left when he seen it. You see? Let's get this real quick. Something else, and I'll get that Daniel 2. All right, so we only got a little time left, man. When we talk about the end of the world, we seconds away from all hell breaking loose. Everything is set in stone in MOTB, right? They already got the infrastructure set up. The banking system, they're preparing to go digital. All we need is a collapse, a false flag emergency for them to turn a system off and then turn it back on, everything digital. World War III in the talks. These nations going back and forth. Uproars of the people because life getting hard for these citizens, so they want to revolt. Been talking about famines, so on and so forth. So everything is ready to take place here in the end of the world, and we just waiting, man. And Yahushua go come back in the midst of it. But let me get this real quick. Something else Ezra said. Now check this out. This second Ezra 14. And again, it's Ezra's and the angel still in conversation. So let's see, second Ezra 14, and I'll start at 10. It says, "For the world," this is the angel talking to Ezra, "for the world has lost his youth, and the times begin to wax old. For the world is divided into 12 parts." So you said the world is divided into 12 parts. Now, when you consider that, Esau, he say that, the world is, millions and billions of years old. Dinosaurs existed 500 trillion years ago, so on and so forth. But the Lord is saying right here, look, the world is divided into 12 parts. And matter of fact, I'm going to read this in a GNT version because it said a little clearer. So this second Ezra 14, and I'll start at 10 again. It says, "The world is no longer young. It is rapidly approaching old age. The whole history of the world is divided into 12 periods." Now check this out. So it's in 12 periods. It says, "And the 10th period has already arrived." Now again, Ezra's At this time, it was told him, look, you in the 10th period. That was around, again, Esdras lived around 450, 456, of course before that, but, his part that he had to do with the rebuilding the second temple was around 456 BC, right? 440, 456 BC. But look, if 440, 456 around that time BC was the 10th part out of 12, then where we at? Seeing we way after that. Let's read it again. It says the whole history of the world is divided into 12 parts, and the 10th period has already arrived, and it is half over. So Esdras was in the middle of the 10th part. It says, and the 10th period has already arrived and is half over, and only 2.5 parts remain. Now, Esdras, again, 450-something BC. Now, what came after Esdras around the time of the Medo-Persian Empire? What came after that? The Greeks. All right, you still had the Maccabees, had to come, in a daytime before, leading up to Yahushua birth. And eventually Yahushua was born, had to have his ministry. He died. The apostles rose and gathered the believers. Then 70 AD eventually came. We fell. We was cast away. Then you had the Dark Ages for roughly 1,000-some years. And then you had the Renaissance. So all this time passed. So it says only 2 parts remain. Then where are we in this time? We have to be at the latter end of this 12th period, man. We have to be at the latter end. If the feet and the toes is the last of it, then we have to be at the end of the history of the world. It says the whole history of the world is divided into 12 periods, and the 10th period has already arrived and is half over. Only 2.5 parts remain, and Esdras was well before us. Just to further show we at the end, man. Let's get Daniel the 2nd chapter. Because Nebuchadnezzar got a dream. He seen a statue, and what the dream meant, it was going to be the heathen rulers that was going to have dominion in the earth. And also these are going to be captivities that the Israelites was going to be in. Now, Nebuchadnezzar was looking in his dream, and he seen in his dream that eventually a stone came and hit the statue in the feet and the toes. Well, that's symbolic for Yahushua coming. And again, he coming in our time in the feet and the toes. But let's read it. This is Daniel the 2nd chapter. Now, when you go into this, Nebuchadnezzar, he tried to get his wise men to interpret the dream. And really, it ain't no shit. So they was like, well, look, tell us your dream and we'll tell you what it meant. Nebuchadnezzar said, no, because y'all gonna bullshit me. I want y'all to tell me what I seen, because I really don't remember. I want y'all to tell me what I seen and then tell me what it meant. Now, none of them can do that. Who could tell a man what he seen in his dream? Just to show you the power that the Lord revealed unto Daniel. So let's start right here. This Daniel chapter 2. This Daniel 2. Now I'm gonna get straight to the point. Yeah, Daniel 2 and 30. Yep, Daniel 2 and 30. Daniel is speaking to Nebuchadnezzar. It says, but as for me, this secret is not revealed to me for any wisdom that I have more than any living, but for their sakes that shall make known the interpretation of the king, that thou mightest know the thoughts of thy heart. It says, verse 31. It says, thou, O king, sawest. So he telling him what he's seen first. Thou, O king, sawest, and behold, a great image. This great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before thee, and the form thereof was terrible. The image's head was of fine gold, his breast and his arms of silver, his belly and his thighs of brass. And we just gonna read through it while he telling him what he's seen. And then once we go to the interpretation, we'll get into it. So it said the image's head was of fine gold, his breast and his arms of silver, his belly and his thighs of brass, his legs of iron, and his feet part of iron and part of clay. And thou sawest until that a stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon his feet that were of iron and of clay, and break them to pieces. And then was the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and gold broken to pieces together and became like the chaff of the summer threshing floors, and the wind carried them away, that no place was found for them. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain and filled the whole earth. You see that? So that's what he's seen. Now he about to tell him what it meant. It says, verse 36, and this is the dream, and we will tell the interpretation therefore before the king. It says, thou, O king, art a king of kings, talking to Nebuchadnezzar. It says, the God of heaven have given thee a kingdom, power, and strength, and glory. And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of heaven have he given into thine hand, and have made thee a ruler over them all. Thou art this head of gold. So Nebuchadnezzar and Babylon, right? Nebuchadnezzar and Babylon, that was the start of it. That was the head of gold. Right? Now you read on, it says, and after thee shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee. And that was the Medo-Persians. And you can read this. It's also in secular history. Right? And that was, again, the Medo-Persians. They came after. That was who the chest and the arms was of silver. Right? And it's and next it says, where I'm at. Okay, and another third kingdom of brass. Now that's the Greek Empire. That's the stomach, right? The belly and the thighs. That was start with Alexander the Great, right? That's the Greek Empire that came up. So you have Babylon, you have Medo-Persian Empire, and then you have the Greek Empire. You see? And again, all this in secular history, it lined up. And that was brass. And then next it says, so like I'm kind of moving around them. It says, I read 39 again, and after these shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee. So after Babylon is going to be the Medo-Persian Empire. It says, and another third kingdom of brass, which that was the Greeks. So the stomach area on the statue on down to the knees, that was the Greeks. It says, which shall bear rule over all the earth. And the fourth kingdom, which is the legs, shall be strong as iron, and that's Rome. That's the time Yahushua was in. That's the time Paul and them was in. John the Baptist, so like so on and so forth. So, and again, Yahushua and them was roughly 2,000 something years ago. If they the legs of the statue, then where can we be? We can't be in the legs too. We got to be at the end. That's where we are. That's why everything is happening at the rate it's happening. Like it said in Habakkuk 2, at the end, it shall speak and not lie. Prophecies are being revealed daily, man. And not just us bringing it out in the scriptures. The Lord has given us proof to back up the scriptures, man. With these news clippings and articles and things that's coming out to show that prophecy, and the Bible been saying it. Like it was told to Esdras in 2 Esdras 6, that all these things that he was being shown was for the end, right? Was for this time. So going on, it says, and the fourth kingdom shall be as iron, and it's Rome, and it's the legs of the statue. For as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, and as iron breaketh all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, right? It's part of iron, because America came back as Rome. That deadly wound was healed, because the legs of the statue was iron. Now part of the feet is iron, because it's that same structure that Rome had. A military might, even the way they government set up with a president or a Caesar, and you got the whole council, right? So on and so forth. So part of that Roman system is held by way of America, NATO, and EU. A military might with America and NATO. But it says, whereas thou saw the feet and the toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it the strength of the iron. You see, so in this modern system is the strength of the iron. Just as Rome had that military strength, was able to subdue all things in the earth, the known world, America had that same might, but even more advanced, and took over the whole world. And it says, for as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with clay, right? You know, these other nations, as far as like, the EU, some of American allies breaking apart, they can't agree. And like a good example is Brexit, with Britain exiting the EU. They got tired of, having to get their resources and their money to these weaker nations, man. So it's all over the place. But the point is, this the time we in. And it says, and as the toes and the feet were of part iron and part clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. Now here it is. It says, and whereas thou sawest the iron mixed with clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. And in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom. So in the days of these kings, now who is the kings in the feet and the toes? Again, America. You got the likes of NATO and their countries, the EU and their countries, man. All right? And Putin, Kim Jong-un, and the people who got domain in the earth right now, again, mainly America and its counterparts. But in the time that they ruling, which is now, as we speak today, it says, in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed. And how's that starting? By us pushing out the word and the word gathering the elect. That's the beginning of it, man. It says, and it shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. And for as much as thou sawest that the stone was cut out of the mountains with our hands, that it break in pieces, and it shall Yahushua. So at the end of all these things, it says that the stone was cut out with our hands, that it break in pieces the iron, the brass, the clay, the silver, and the gold. And again, what it said early on, that the stone hit the statue in the feet and the toes. Why? Because this the time Yahushua coming in our time. He didn't hit the feet. He didn't hit the statue in the head. The stone ain't come hit the statue in the head. Because what would have been his purpose? To come back on chariots and beam up the elect in the Babylonian Empire. The stone ain't hit. Nebuchadnezzar ain't see the stone hitting the statue in the chest. Because he ain't coming back for his second coming during the Medo-Persian Empire. He ain't see it hitting the Greeks, right? The stomach and the thighs. He ain't come during the time with the Greeks. And in the legs, the stone ain't come as far as his second coming, but he was there to be born and begin a ministry. So where's this stone coming for his second coming, man? On chariots and all. That's in the feet and the toes. We living in that time. We living in that time, man. This just show how close we are to the end. Matter of fact, it's just like, because it says that it was cut out with our hands. In 2 Ezra 13, it said, Ezra seen Yahushua on a mountain. He thought it was a mountain, but it was cut out with our hands. Right, Yahushua coming back. You see? That's why the scripture says our salvation is nearer than when we believe. But let's finish this. It says, then the iron, the clay, the brass, and the silver, and the gold was broken to pieces together and became like the chaff of the summer threshing floor, and the wind carried them all away, and that no place was found for them. Right. All these heathen rulerships and what they accomplished in the earth and their history is going to be forgotten when Yahushua come back. And it's going to be all about him and his people, the Israelites. And it says, and the stone, Yahushua, that smote the image, that's going to take down these heathens, became a great mountain and filled the whole earth. Now it's time for him to start his kingdom. You see? That's it, man. And then it says, verse 45, and the great power hath made known to the king what shall come to pass hereafter, and the dream is certain, and the interpretation therefore is sure. So if these other kingdoms came into order as Daniel broke down in secular history, shall not the stone come? Now again, if these kingdoms came in order, the Assyrio-Babylonian Empire, Medo-Persian, Greeks, Rome, America, NATO, EU. If these things happen in secular history and in the Bible, shall not the stone come also in real life? And not just what Daniel seen. These things got to happen, man. Let's finish it with this. Romans 13 and 11, it says, "And that, knowing the time, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep, for now is our salvation nearer than when we believe." You see, but I'm in it right there, man. Hey, we here. We at the end. The Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory. Until, matter of fact, I want to get one more. But I do want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, Ba'Shem Hakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. And peace and blessings as well to, all you Akim who pushing this word, as well as the believers who believe in. But let me get this real quick. This not second Esdras. It's Ezekiel chapter 7 and 9. It's Ezekiel 7 and 6. It says, "An end is come. The end is come." I got to start at 5. Ezekiel 7 and 5. "Thus saith Yahweh power, and evil and only evil, behold, is come. An end is come. The end is come. It watcheth for thee, behold, it is come." So we finally at the end of the world, man. With that, hey, shalom.